Good morning. I have on the phone with me Drew Springer, who is running for Senate. Drew, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Kelly?
Doing great. I had a few questions that I wanted to ask you. Why did you decide to run for Senate?
You know, I've lived, been educated, and worked in this Senate district pretty much my whole entire life. And having served 8 years in the Texas House, I understand how best to represent this district, the constituents, the issues that they have. And in the Senate, where you're one of 31 instead of one of 150, you can make sure some of those nuances that are specific to your district are definitely addressed. And whether that's transportation, whether it's eminent domain, whether it's rural broadband, those are big issues, and there's not a lot of senators that focus on some of those items.
Awesome. On which issue will you work with the other party right now?
You know, on the other party, definitely we've got to be working with them on eminent domain and rural broadband, the two issues I just talked about. I mean, Democrats care about property owners being treated fairly and correctly when pipelines are coming through. And so, that's really a bipartisan issue, as is rural broadband. In fact, you've got to build a coalition. It is like the electrification was, last century. Kids can't learn, businesses can't run without broadband. So, those are a couple of easy issues, but, we do probably 90% of the state's business is done in a bipartisan way. And so, and whether that's transportation funding, we'll definitely work with the other side on those items.
Okay. Would you vote for spending bills that add to the deficit?
Texas does not have a deficit. We are fortunate that our Constitution calls for a balanced budget, and so each of the 4 years I've been down there, we've have since we started have always passed a balanced budget. So no, we don't. So we luckily for Texas, we don't have a printing press. Otherwise, it makes and I wish Washington didn't either. Maybe they would learn to live within their means.
Right.
But I can say that to that other extent, though, that the thing that probably matters the most is, Texas does not need to raise taxes to balance our budget this next session. We can look for, definitely need to look at cuts, as well as we have taken Texas tax dollars and put it into the Economic Stabilization Fund, the rainy day fund, for just these kind of downturns. We used a little bit last session. We'll probably use a little bit more this session.
Okay, awesome. That kind of brings me to another question. Why do you choose to exempt our county from taxpayer funding ban? You purport to be anti-taxpayer funding, but it seems the bill has been fine-tuned to keep Cooke County tax entities exempt from the ban. This was from a constituent, by the way.
That bill did not pass. Okay. When the bill was on the floor, I voted for it that all counties would be included in that ban. So from that standpoint, I think they're just misinformed on that issue. And so Cooke County, if that bill would have passed, would have been included in there.
Okay, well, thank you for clearing that up. Should voters in federal elections be required to show ID at the polls, and what are your thoughts in the current election fraud investigations?
Absolutely. I mean, Texas is, one of the best states because we have voter ID, and federal elections should, because if they're cheating in other states, it just takes away from the rights of Texans. And so we need to pursue those. I'm glad to see Ken Paxton has filed lawsuits basically claiming that those other states are taking away Texans' rights.
Awesome.
But we need to do more in Texas next session. I've already filed a bill to make sure our voter rolls are cleaned up. If you haven't voted in 6 years, you're automatically removed from the rolls and you'd have to re-register. That's how you keep dead people off of the rolls. I've been door knocking here in Cooke County, and I can tell you when I go to a door and it shows 6 different families registered and clearly there's only one family there, it is just ripe for voter fraud. That doesn't happen here in Cooke County, but I don't trust that it's not happening in Harris County, Travis County, and Dallas County.
Right, exactly. And bringing up the Tarrant County, how do you feel about, what are your thoughts on it turning blue after over 60 years?
It's a problem that these urban larger areas are turning blue, that they think that government's the answer to their solutions. I think we have to continue to reach out and explain why capitalism is better than socialism. It is why when we teach our curriculums that we have the State Board of Education setting a statewide curriculum that does that. If we left some of these large school districts to their own ways, they would be teaching Marxism and socialism as being better than capitalism. Yeah. So, that's part of our problems.
Right. Exactly. What are your thoughts on the current COVID restrictions, and how do you feel about making someone wear a mask?
I think that it is a property right to owner to make somebody wear a mask. I mean, Shelley Luther makes everybody who works at her salon and gets their haircut wear a mask, and that's her business's choice. If I don't want to go there, then it's my choice not to go there. I don't think the government should be mandating that. Okay. On that stance. Now, I think the governor has way overreached. I have filed a bill to take his executive powers, and any governor in the future during a disaster's ability to continue for months and months unchecked without the legislature signing off on what we're going to do in that regards. I've been arguing with the governor for months, that our wineries shouldn't be shut down. They're not like a bar. And to that extent, I don't even think bars necessarily should be shut down from that standpoint. Those are individuals' choices that we make from that standpoint.
Okay. And what about the unemployment rate in Texas, as COVID has affected it? How would you go about trying to improve the unemployment rate in Texas?
It's open Texas up. I mean, let people get back to work. I mean, get rid of the 50% and get rid of the restrictions that are shutting down so many of our businesses, and let them get back going. And it's also in the oil and gas industry. We need to make sure that, we're not restricting them from being able to perform and, employ so many people that they do.
Okay. How do you feel about immigration in Texas?
Immigration, we reap the negativity by the fact that Washington refuses to address the immigration system properly. They don't come up with a system that allows a merit-based program when we need more employees, when unemployment's low, to come in, and when times are high unemployment, that we sort of shut the spigot off. We don't enforce those that over half the people come here have overstayed visas, and we don't check that. And Texas, unfortunately, has the problem of paying for those things, both in the healthcare system and in our school systems. From that standpoint, what I can say is, in the 8 years that I've been in the legislature, we have passed about $2.4 billion to secure the border because the federal government won't do their job, trying to stop the flow of illegal immigration.
Okay. What are your views on gun laws, and how would you go about helping citizens protect their right to bear arms?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm proud to be endorsed by the NRA because my strong stance on the Second Amendment. Since I've been in, we passed open carry, campus carry. We have changed our laws as far as where lawyers can't sue people that aren't putting up signs to take your rights away. We need to look at this next session, constitutional carry. I've already filed a bill. Basically, if you can legally carry a gun or legally meet the requirements under the permit, that you would then be able to carry without having to get the permit. You lose your reciprocity with other states. I mean, you can't conceal carry if you go into Oklahoma if you don't have a Texas license. But that's that person's choice on that. There's another great bill. it gets back to the 10th Amendment. I don't believe that the ATF and the federal government should restrict suppressors. And if one's made in Texas, sold in Texas, and used in Texas, that shouldn't be under the guise of the federal government. That's a safety precaution as much as anything.
Okay, thank you. So, what mistakes have you made, and what have you learned from them?
The mistakes is not sometimes not building coalitions, trying to do everything yourself and without getting buy-in from other legislators. It is a process. It's one where you have to have allies to get things done, and you have to have a majority of the numbers to be able to do that. I think that's the big difference between me and my opponent. She's called every other legislator worthless in the state of Texas, and it's going to be hard for somebody to go down there and get anything done for this district when you've alienated everybody right off the start.
Right. Who would you say is your personal hero?
That one's easy. It's my wife. I've been married 29 years. We met 31 years ago in Munster, Texas at German Fest.
Oh, my goodness.
Later on that year, she broke her back and has been in a wheelchair for 31 years. And to see the fight and grit she has and the things she has accomplished, most people, if they read her resume, would never think that somebody like that could be in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. She's done a phenomenal job raising our 3 kids and now is having fun with our 6-month-old grandchild, and so our grandson. And so, absolutely easy to say she's my hero.
Right. Well, you know me, I'm the type of person that I'm pretty real, and I like to just let somebody have a chance just to kind of tell, what kind of person they are. What do you want to portray to your constituents or people voting in the upcoming runoff? Just something, just something personal about you that they might not know, or just the real person you are, that you don't really get to share with the people.
No, I mean, look, I'm somebody who cares about other people's thoughts and opinions and what they've gone through. And while Lydia and I have a unique story, it's not unique in the standpoint that a lot of people have struggles. That's why I have traveled the 25,000 square miles of the 22 counties I represent right now, listening to constituents, being there when they want to have their thoughts and their opinions heard and their concerns with state government. Sometimes when you're talking, it gets away from politics, and we get into personal things. I just talked to a gentleman today when we voted early. He's lost 4 friends and relatives in the last 4 months, and being there to listen to somebody and comfort them. Those are important things, and I hope that that comes through. It doesn't always sometimes, because we start talking about taxes and budgets and all wonky kind of stuff, and we forget the human side of politics. And I hope that the constituents have appreciated what I've done the last 8 years in the Texas House, and will send me to do that for the 1 million people in this Senate district.
Awesome. Thank you. That's why I wanted to give you a chance, because I do feel like, not enough people get to see the human side of politics. So, all right. Well, thank you, Drew. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and answer a few questions, and good luck in the runoff.
Thank you, Kelly.